out to make sure
I'm going to press
he
record
wasn't
on this
saying that
test
was
now.
wrong.
Okay, we're going to start. We started recording.
Yeah.
So we started recording the audio. We may as well start doing the whole thing. If you join in halfway through, you'll be able to get the audio for this later on. You'll be able to get everything else that you need as well. Andy Hudson from Spion Kop in 1905. Graham Six.
Not a good start, isn't it?
Graham Smith from the LFC Supporters Committee and Jay McKenna from Shankly. They're here with us to talk about what's been going on with the protests around the tickets. This is the ticket Q&A. Firstly, thank you very much, all three of you, for coming and taking the time to speak to us and speak to the people who've sent in questions and who are currently sending in tweets and the like thereof. Going to go first on this. The other group who were invited, insofar as this is a group thing, were Liverpool Football Club. Jay McKenna, you got in touch with someone today. What did they say to you?
Yeah, I emailed Liverpool to ask if they would like to take part in today's discussion. This was when we understood Liverpool were actually going to do their own Q&A immediately preceding it, but obviously that's been cancelled. We've said that supporters have asked us to do this, and we think that given we're going to do this, we'd like the club to be involved. We've been involved in all them discussions with them. All three of us have been in the meetings as part of the ticket working group since. We asked if they'd like to put someone forward for it, and we received a reply that says that whilst thanks for the opportunity to take part tonight, but while ticketing discussions are ongoing, we won't be putting anyone up regardless. So Liverpool declined the opportunity to submit somebody to this discussion.
Okay, Liverpool declined the opportunity. I think it's important to say at times I ask questions during this in a tone which is slightly sceptical of what some of you are saying, just simply for the purposes of playing devil's advocate. It's a real shame the club didn't put someone up. I think that the first basis for all this, and I think this has been the basis, Graham, that you've been trying to proceed on throughout all these conversations, is the very simple principle that we're all Reds here. That, you know, this isn't adversarial, and that people shouldn't think this is adversarial. Us three, and you'd like to think the people who run Liverpool Football Club, we all want what's best for Liverpool Football Club.
It is a massive opportunity. Those 13 months was a massive opportunity. I hope those 13 months haven't finished, but I want to say again, it's a massive opportunity for FSG to really have got themselves knee-deep, thigh-deep into Liverpool. They could have really got themselves, thought of as trying to get the club as one. And that opportunity at the moment looks as if it's been missed.
That's the heartbreaking part, isn't it, Andy? I mean, it's the first time I've maybe spoke to you on matters like this, but the general impression that you're getting from people is that the walkout that happens at the weekend, it's not just precipitated by the idea of just this one thing. It's that it's viewed by people as a missed opportunity to put a lot of things right, but also so we all proceed together as one club.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was the idea behind the walkout as well. But more than anything, it's disappointment from Liverpool Football Club again. Disappointment that you didn't do their Q&A tonight. It was disappointment that they didn't give us what we wanted with the whole ticket response, and it just feels like, as Graham said, missed opportunity over 13 months, but most of all, disappointment.
Okay, we've got to start with the questions. You've done me a list of frequently asked questions here. I'm going to almost see if we tick them off through doing the people's questions that they've texted in and emailed in, and also people can tweet, as I said before, Knox_Harrington. If you just look at the hashtag Twitter Q&A, you'll find that, and I'll try to pick this stuff up as we go, but we've got a number to get through, and we'll just get through as many as we can in about an hour. First one comes from Luke Edwards. He's got a couple of questions. The first one is, what will be the next action as the protests are set to continue following the walkout of the weekend just gone by? The second one is, do you think FSG will reconsider their proposed ticket system so it's fairer for fans and therefore lower them? Comes from Luke. First question really, Jay, is there a next action already in the works? Are you having conversations, or at this stage is just wanting to see what the club are going to do in the next couple of days?
Well, I think Liverpool have got a chance now. There's quite a while, I think, to the next home game. I think,
next league home's Man City.
Next league home, yeah. And I think that's an important point to make, Neil, because this is about LFC home league ticket prices at the moment. Liverpool haven't published any of the plans or ideas for cup games. We assume they're probably in one of the 7 or 8 big clubs that voted against the £30 away ticket cap, given the way that's been.
Do we know that, Jay?
We don't know that, but I think all the PR and media on that has been that it was the 7 or 8 big clubs who voted against it. So I think we'd all probably safely assume that Liverpool Football Club was inside that 7 or 8.
We're ninth now.
Well, in the league, not probably not in other measures that people judge these things on. But I think on the next action, I've been asked this question an awful lot. What next? Is this the end? Is this the start? For me and Spirit of Shankly, this is the start of action. You know, we've announced other actions towards sponsors, and the first one being asking people to contact Subway, and that'll continue one sponsor at a time. But I think now is an opportunity for us to take stock with supporters and talk to supporters, make sure people are on board with this. You know, it's all happened very quickly. Less than a week ago, Liverpool Football Club hadn't published the prices. Less than 48 hours after they did publish the prices, the demonstrations called. 48 hours later, 15,000 people walk outside of Anfield. You know, 48 hours later, we find ourselves asking what's next. So I think it's important we take that opportunity just to take stock and, you know, and ask supporters what they want us to do and work with them on that. And I think some people have submitted them kind of questions.
I expect we'll get this question a lot, Andy. Were you surprised? Yeah, one of the frequently asked questions here was, what did you make of the walkout? Were you surprised by the number of people who joined in and took part in the walkout? Massively
surprised, yeah. I mean, from 15 lads sat in a local alehouse last Wednesday to 15,000 people walking out on Saturday, it was overwhelming, to be honest. But as Jay said, we need to take stock of it and think of what we're going to do next and proceed in the right manner and be sensible with it, I think. But yeah, it was surprising, but it was good to see, and it's about time.
Okay. Next thing down on the second question there, was, do you think FSG, I mean, this is the big question, I suppose, Graham, but we can start with it now and sort of keep looping back around. Do you think they are going to reconsider it in a meaningful way? I mean, would it be nice, you're on the LFC Supporters Committee, one of the things that I think everyone wants here is for this to get resolved pretty quickly, for the club to do something, to take the lead, to make pretty grandiose movements and steps. Do you think there's a chance they're going to do that?
I hope so. It's just incredibly difficult to gauge what they're going to do, because I think there is a chasm between their announcements of what they want to do and the feeling that everyone's got from the supporters as to what they really think's fair. And I think that's the $1 million question.
Okay.
I think it's a $3 million question.
Yeah, £2 million.
Well, someone asking, you mentioned the £2 million there. I had a question on Twitter from at LBR VD. Sorry if I got that wrong. It's in the awful handwriting. Have the club acknowledged the 39 million figure, Jay, in a meaningful sense? Have they said this 39 million figure, we have gone from 35 to 37, from 37 to 39?
Yeah, where these numbers come from is we were very open with Liverpool and said, we want to do this properly, we want your data, we want your spreadsheets, we want to do this and look through all the numbers. This season, where the £35 million number come from, this season Liverpool plan to introduce ticket prices or increase ticket prices slightly. When we worked the numbers out, that it was around a £200,000 increase, and when we sat with Liverpool and went through this, they acknowledged that those numbers were, you know, I think about a couple of pounds were pretty spot on. And Liverpool make up approximately £35 million based on the numbers they've given us, making out £35 million from tickets, season tickets and match day. Liverpool then came back with a target for 39 million from these seats, or from the increased capacity. And when we looked at it and worked it out, it was £37 million. Now Liverpool, in all the conversations we've had with them in the ticket working group meetings, in all the spreadsheets, the £39 million was on there. We've looked at all these numbers, done all the calculations, and Liverpool had at no point have told us this was wrong. Liverpool have agreed with what we've been saying about, you know, you get this natural £2 million uplift from ticket prices from the new main stand. You know, you don't need to make an extra $2 million on top. So Liverpool have never disputed that number.
Yeah.
We can only go off the numbers Liverpool have given us unless they, you know, one day, you know, decide to show us the books and show us all the receipts, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon, certainly not now. So, you know, if Liverpool Football Club was to dispute that number, then I'd quite like them to come and show us their working out. But no, as far as we're concerned, from all the information and conversations we've had with them, face-to-face, senior officials of the club, they are the numbers that have been presented to us.
Okay, next one comes from Joe as Khan. Let's hear from each of you on this one, really. Start with you, Graham. In your opinion, what is an acceptable outcome you hope for from these protests? If the club decides to freeze prices for next season, is this acceptable, or are you looking for something more long term? I want to be quite clear about this. The three people who are in front of me, they each represent different groups. You know, I'm not saying, I don't know if you're going to agree or disagree before I ask the question, but any sort of disagreements, it's perfectly natural. Different people might have different views. Graham, what's your view on that one? If they decided and now came back and said, all right, we'll freeze the prices going into next season, would you think that was acceptable, or do you think that there's an opportunity for something more long term?
The Liverpool Supporters Committee has not had any real massive feedback from the supporters directly to it to say one thing or the other. So to some extent, it is a bit of a personal opinion, just trying to sum up what I think the mood is. I think it is that freezing the prices is not going to be enough. We have to start a journey that's going to see the prices reducing considerably over a period of time. No one was looking for a revolution overnight. We were looking for a journey.
So what you're looking for is, let me get this straight. So let me put a hypothetical situation to you. They say to you, Graham, we're happy. We'll free for next season because we plan for that. We'll commit to a reduction of some form over the next 2, 3, 4 years. You turn away, that staggers over those 2, 3, 4 years. You come back and you've got, okay, that's something we can work with.
Just about, I think. Personally, just about.
Okay.
Just about.
Andy?
Yeah, I'd take that. I mean, we started this process 13 months ago in the hope of getting reduced tickets. It's not come about, but I think personally for me next year, speaking on a personal level, I'm offering Spion Kop 1906 group.
Yeah.
After what's happened over the past week or so, then I'll take a freeze for them to engage with the club and open back communication with the club to try and get to somewhere, maybe work on a 5-year plan where it reduces down and we get to the £30 mark or whatever that mark may be in so many years' time.
I'm going to push you on this, Jamie. I mean, you and I have had a conversation around this a few times. I want you to say quite categorically, Graham said it there, you're not looking for or expecting a revolution. That's fair, isn't it? What you're saying is you're happy to see stage progress. It's not the idea that we're asking Liverpool to suddenly have a shortfall of X million to make up next year. That's not what you're saying. What you're saying is if they come to you with a programme that reduces, even in slight increments over 5, 6, 7 years, you can turn around and you can say, well, that's the direction of travel we want. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is a fair assumption, Neil, and as you say, we've talked about this extensively. We went into this process 13 long months ago now to say to Liverpool Football Club that it's too expensive as it is, and you need to look to lower the burden upon your loyal and passionate supporters for many reasons. Fairness, morally justifiable to begin to lower prices, but we know, the impact that that atmosphere on future generations. We made all those reasons and laid them all out on the table to Liverpool. Liverpool's first offer to us was making more money, so we went back to them. And our proposals that we published on our site to lower this over time, that agreed by all 3 groups, was that the club should begin to lower how much they make. Now, at any point, if Liverpool wanted to do that and come back to us and said, well, the idea of us going down that far, we're not sure that that's going to work for the club. It's not sustainable because of X, Y, Z, or we don't think that's the right approach for X, Y, Z. They didn't even give us their answers. They didn't give us economic arguments why they can't do it. They just said they don't want to do that. And this is the direction travel they want to go in. If Liverpool come back to us now and said, we will commit to doing this for supporters, then I think we'd be hard pressed to say, well, that's not the right thing to do.
Is one of the concerns, direction of travel is a massive work, Graham, is one of the concerns here, again, I think this touches on one of the frequently asked questions, is one of the concerns here, and this is where, some people might think, look, it's £2 million, the changing of the tiers, it could be worse, for some people it's a little bit better, so on and so forth. Is one of the concerns here direction of travel? I think that's a key phrase, isn't it? It is, is that what's in your mind, the direction of travel?
Mike Gordon came over just before Christmas. I can't remember, I think it was like November. Might be the Palace game when we played Palace. And he arranged a short notice meeting with myself. It was with me, but he wanted to speak to the sports committee, and a couple of us went. Didn't want to see the ticketing working group, wanted to see the sports committee, which was a bit disappointing in itself. Talking to him, it was, and the phrase I've used a couple of times, I was like talking French, but he was here in German, is that he looked at me at one point, he said, why would we reduce ticket prices? And I think that's where we're at. It was just psychologically and philosophically, at that stage, they're just not seeing the pain and the concern that's caused about the atmosphere, accessibility, and pricing. So it is almost like trying to stop a juggernaut and turn it around slowly and move it back in the other direction. So, but all the supporters are trying to be positive about it and not revolutionary or something that couldn't be achieved. It's not like go to £30 for 70% of the seats and tickets next season. It's not that. It's like, we understand you've got a business. We want the business to succeed, but that you've got to get that journey. Okay,
next one's Gary Duffy. How a season ticket holders for 20 years supposed to take the kids to the match and get a seat next to them. Son's 8. It's impossible without getting off mates or buying corporate. I mean, Andy, this is back to one of the core issues where I think sometimes as Liverpool supporters we can think, everyone's got the same problems. This isn't as big a problem, for instance, for Sunderland supporters as it is for Liverpool supporters because we've got an access issue. It's not me being rude about Sunderland supporters. It is practically impossible, isn't it? It's sad that this is something that people want to feel is achievable, but I don't know. Gary's asked that question there. I don't think you've got an answer. I'm asking you it, but I don't know what it is.
I haven't got an answer now. One thing I will say on the basis of that is you look on the Kop week in, week out, and there is a serious lack of young people and kids. And I stand on the Kop week in, week out. I don't know what it's like on other parts of the ground, but on the Kop there is a serious lack of young people, kids, and in terms of us who do the flags and create an atmosphere, or try to create an atmosphere, what we look at and why we started in this process is because we fear for that next generation, because it's not coming through. And, you know, this was the time where the club could have stood up and pioneered the way to say, you know, let's get kids back in the game.
Do you acknowledge it's hard for them though? Because there's a number of season ticket holders in that ground already. People aren't going. You know, do you know what I mean? It's not, you're not saying it's easy, are you?
No, it's not. No, and you know,
but they've got a chance. They've got a chance.
Could have put it right, and they never. This is where the letdown started. They had a chance here and they tried to engage with us for 13 months. They've
got a chance because they've got a new main stand, and if you get the pricing right, you can probably entice some people out of the Kop.
And we said this. Yeah. We said this in all our conversations we were having with them. Liverpool were saying, you know, you restricted the Kop's, I think 92% season ticket holders currently, so the space in there is a problem. You know, there is a restricted number of juniors, and Ian Ayre, I think, talked about this where he said something about, you know, season tickets don't come back in. They talk, you know, they stay in families, and there's a legacy of that, and there's a problem around that. But one of the things we did say to Liverpool is, you don't have that movement no more. People don't age in the Kop. People don't sit in the Kop and think, it's not for me anymore, I'm going to give some other lad a chance and move to the main stand or the paddock or the Kenwood. They don't move to them side flanks where they stereotypically used to. And the one reason for that is the Kop is the cheapest part of the ground. Yeah. The Kop is cheap. So why would you, if you're a Liverpool supporter, particularly under these price rises, think, I'm going to give someone else a chance in the Kop here? Yeah. Well, why would you? Because if you're going to move to the main stand, or the Kenwood, or the Centenary, as people might know it, it's more expensive, significantly more expensive. Well, no supporter in their right mind is going to make that choice willingly.
And is this back to the, you know, that access question? The other thing that's not going to happen is the club saying that tickets aren't coming back in. It's one of the reasons why tickets aren't coming back in, are staying in families, people are passing them around, the boxes themselves, is because you've got a mate and he's saying to you, I'll take your Kop season tickets off you for a couple of years, mate, I'll take that. So you're not even going to think about sort of passing it back in, because it's, your mate wants one, and if you don't sell to him, you might end up having to pay 915 quid to sit in an awful seat.
Well, there's two things on that. Liverpool's way of getting tickets back in is around, you know, you can sell your ticket back per game under this ticket exchange that they have, but you lose money on that. So people have got a season ticket and they by and large can't make some games. You can put it back into the club's exchange in the hope that they can sell it and get the money back off your season ticket next year. Or you can pass it on to a mate for face value or stuff like that. And I think Liverpool could and should, and we did have some conversations with them about how they share season tickets and stuff like that and help people out. But I think in terms of, it's just a really difficult thing for understanding why Liverpool approach tickets the way they do. I'm losing train of thought. It's like
it isn't difficult. It's about money and a spreadsheet and a bottle. Yeah, that's what it is.
You get slightly frustrated.
It's that simple. This. You know, those conversations we have with Michael and we've had the other meetings is at the end of the day, why would we reduce ticket prices? Why would we? We've got thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people waiting to just take your spot.
Well, there's that's the point I suppose I want to make. On getting your season ticket back in, I think people look at their season ticket and think, well, I pay so much for this. I pay a significant sum of money for this. This is mine. And I also think no one actually wants to acknowledge they're not going to match no one. No one wants to break that link. So if you've got a season ticket, I think some supporters, and I know people who said this to me, they pass it on to someone else because they live in a naivety that they're going to come back. Because they hope one day they'll be able to afford it. They hope the circumstances will change or it'll get cheaper. They hope they'll be able to afford it. And I asked Liverpool, and they've not provided these stats. They should do me a favour. Of all those who've stopped going and have give the season tickets back or stop buying tickets off you regularly, tell me how many come again. Because I imagine it'll be very, very few.
Okay, Catherine Roberts, an email from her. What is the new provision for disabled fans who sit in the paddock? I sit in the paddock on attending games. And with the new price structure, it appears my tickets could increase. Will we be praying on this? Do you know if the new pricing structure allows disabled fans to sit in other parts of the stadium?
There's a massive pressure on the disabled seats. The new stand is not going to address the statutory requirement that's coming in next year for the number of spaces we should have. I think their plan is to have a situation that if the Anfield Road is ever done, that should be enough. They should be able to square it and get it to where it should be. But they've got a problem with disabled tickets and accessibility because they're not going to be able to comply with the Act of Parliament that's coming in for next summer. So they're going to have. I think a lot of clubs are like that, but we've got that particular issue. As far as the pricing is concerned, I think talking to the Katie, the supporters rep for the disabled on the committee, I think they are as pressurised price-wise as the rest of us.
Okay. Next one is from Alan O'Donoghue. From a family like many, 3 generations have had a season ticket, many being priced out to go in the game. Do you think it's possible to have a complete time to have a complete overhaul of the pricing system rather than just a free or slight reduction? Isn't it time to not just protest the increases, but also the whole thing? If Bayern Munich can have one of the lowest season tickets for the top tier club in Europe, then what's FSG's excuse not to match it? I want to come back. I'm going to talk about FSG in a minute. I mean, in general, I'll go to you, Jay, on this, and then Andy. There's the Premier League aspect. I mean, the way in which when he says complete overhaul, the first thing I think is the whole league. And I'll ask you in a minute about the way in which the supporters have taken what's gone on. But Jay, the only way there's going to be a complete overhaul is if it's league-wide. Is that fair?
Yeah and no, and I'll explain. If all clubs come together and agree to do something, or the Premier League was able to enforce clubs to do something, or the FA actually done its governance role and enforced clubs to do something, this would be much easier. I think my fear is if this doesn't happen now, the only way ticket changes will ever happen again, particularly reductions, will be through legislation, and that will require government to do that. The clubs and Premier League chairmen should come together. The reality is Premier League chairmen run the Premier League. It's a trade association. It's a gentleman's club who sit there and agree decisions, that ultimately lie at owners' level from our experience. And in the one example we've got of Premier League clubs coming together to try and find a solution was on the away ticket cap, and they voted it down most recently, as everyone is not by now aware. The reason I said no, it doesn't need a Premier League solution, is because Liverpool Football Club can lead the way. Liverpool Football Club makes its own decisions on its ticketing policy. By making this positive decision to reduce revenues, Liverpool would be leading the way. They would be making a choice, and that's a choice they can make. They don't need Arsenal or Man United or Chelsea to do the same thing at the same time as them. They might cite competitiveness, but the reduction in revenue isn't going to make us any more competitive. And to steal your quote, Neil, which has been spot on about this, no time soon is Liverpool Football Club going to win an arms race. We're not going to suddenly be richer than Chelsea or Man United or Arsenal on the back of this. What we do have an opportunity, though, is to be different. And at the end of maybe 5 years of reductions, just saying, we're Liverpool, this is what we've done, and we're a bit different on this.
Yeah, that backed that up massively, what Jay said. He obviously knows more about what we do, but that's what we wanted to see. We want to see Liverpool lead the way with this, be the first to do it, be the first big club to stand up and say, no, we're giving back to the fans. The fans are getting cheaper tickets, whatever that may be, or whatever. But, this is the club's chance to do it, to make a stand and to be the first Premier League club to pioneer the way for other clubs to follow.
In the meetings with the owners, the one time a light went on was when we said, listen, this could be us leading the way and stealing the march on the other clubs. And a light went on, and there was a comment, and I can't remember who said it. It was one of the owners, and it was along the lines of, we'd love to do one over on them, the Uniteds, the Chelseas, the Cities, and that was the one time a light came on. But they seem to have snuffed that light out.
What's been a response from other clubs and supporters?
I think it is broadly supportive. I mean, you'll get the usual rivalry, but I think to a large extent they've been set aside. I think from talking to Jay, I think there's been some quite good stuff from United, City, Tottenham, and Arsenal are quite powerful in all of this as well. They hopefully will get a bit of confidence from this and start leading the way, because, as Andy said, there's an opportunity of moving it forward.
We've had tweets on our Spion Kop account from Palace, Villa, Arsenal, United, City, who've all said, well done on this. One thing I will say to them, if they are listening, I doubt they are, is time for you to stand up, get involved, this is your time, if we all stand together and fight this, you never know. Look what we've changed in the space of 2 or 3 days, or what we're trying to change. If everyone else stands up, 6 or 7 more teams and do it, then who knows?
All right. Next one, Jay. Got another one from Twitter, LBRWD again. Who made the decision to continue match categorisation, and what was the rationale to do so?
The owners decided that. We started with one of our goals. It was the 70% of £30, which isn't as much as I think you'll probably imagine it would be. We asked for no categorisation for 2 reasons. Very quickly, people come to Liverpool to watch Liverpool Football Club, and it skews the balance, because Liverpool get to say they've got a £36 ticket, plucking a number from the air. But for Man United, they're only £59 ticket, for example. So the balance doesn't quite work. I know they're not the exact numbers, so please no one tweet me and correct me. but particularly because our supporters get disadvantaged by this. And I know Anna Bear just raised this with the owners when she met with them, and they were surprised, they didn't understand it. So in all our plans and proposals that we initially had, there was no categorisation in it, and it's at the point of the owner's intervention in this around autumn time, categorisation was put back in, and the reason we were told was because it's what they do in America.
Okay. Next one, Nick, coming you first, Graham. What do you think of full naming rights for Anfield could bring at big pound cup prices?
Do you think so? Do you think that's going to be high on the agenda when they're trying to sell naming rights and they've got 3/4 or a quarter of the ground walking out? It's going to be a pretty hard seller. I think Jay was saying there's probably some poor fellow in Chapel Street at the moment whose job it is, who's probably got as much hair as I have at the moment, haven't pulled it all out.
Well, if you're selling, and I know this point, Mark Fitzgerald raised this point here, and it was just after that we was talking, he said, you know, Liverpool, clearly I think we're making a decision on a spreadsheet. Liverpool saying, well, there's a target here, there's a revenue target for the ticket department that's got to be achieved. But giving a bit back to supporters there, creating an incredible amount of goodwill and passion, maybe that makes it easier to sell other things. Maybe when you're ringing Subway and saying, do you want to pay £3 million a year instead of £2 million a year, for example, you know, I reckon they'll think, yeah, we're a bit better because everyone stopped emailing us now and tweeting us, telling us to tell you things. So yeah, we'll give you a bit extra money now because everyone now wants to be our customers and they're still happy to be your supporters. So it's a missed opportunity, and I just imagine, you know, there is someone in Chapel Street now who's got this proposal on his desk for naming rights, and he's wondering why he's not getting a reply from anyone, because they're all thinking, we might just let that one slide for now, because they don't want to be associated with it, and it's a missed opportunity. In terms of naming rights, you know, we started the conversation with Liverpool and we said, you know, there might be things you want to do, and I've talked about in the past, like naming rights, you know, things that you know would get a supporter reaction. Put them on the table, let's have an honest conversation, let's trust that you can have an honest, grown-up conversation with your supporters, not just us, the wider supporter base. I think they probably didn't tell us everything they ever wanted to do, but if Liverpool had something like that, I'd happily put it on the table and talk to people and see what they wanted to do.
I want to, on this trust thing, I want to push on this. You were all in the room, you're all in the meetings with them. I mean, I think there's something right there. The word that I keep coming landing on this is something really sad about the 13 months in terms of the fact that they appeared to just sit in rooms with you for 13 months in the disregard. And it is sad. It's this trust thing, I think. I you know, remember from my early involvement in SOS, conversations about with people over many, many years about every single aspect of this game. I think one of the frustrations, I think, is the feeling that they're not interested in, and you know, previous owners as well, but you get the impression they're sort of not interested in treating you like grown-ups. They're sort of interested in just sort of patting you on the head a little bit and going, there you are, and we're not gonna whack this stuff on the table for you. We're not gonna, because we could have an honest conversation about this. I'd be perfectly happy for you three to be in a room with them and have an honest conversation about naming rights off the basis of, well, if you want to do this and we can look at reducing ticket prices, it's all on the table, and that must be the thing that's killing you a bit, really, to be able to go, well, it was all on the table for 13 months. You put it all on the table for them if you wanted it.
I think there's two things you've got to look at. One of them's a bit controversial, and I might even get pushed off my seat here again. The first one is that you've got to look at a difference, and there's a disconnect between Chapel Street and Boston. I trust the people. I actually do trust the people I met from Chapel Street. I trust Ian there. I don't think he's ever lied to me, to my face. The other lads that we dealt with and the other people there, I think we're honestly trying to do the job they've been tasked to do, because it's their job. You know, they didn't have to believe in it, but it was their job. As far as the owners are concerned, I must say again, they've been quite upfront about it, because when I've ever spoken to them, it's like, well, why would we reduce ticket prices? But the thing was, they were still engaging in this 13-month process. You know, it should have been pulled off, sort of finished quite early. If it wasn't a negotiation as it seemed to be, and it was basically just a box ticking exercise. That's you know. So I think there's a disconnect between Chapel Street and Boston.
I don't know if it means the same thing in the context that you use it. I don't know if they use the word trust in us. Yeah. I don't quite think they believed us. No. And I'll tell you now, there will be nobody or very few people inside Liverpool Football Club, less than 5, I reckon, from top to bottom, who expected Saturday. I don't think, similarly, those who've been involved in the process expect just a reaction to the ticket prices alone. I don't think they expected that. I think they would have been genuinely shocked. But we told them all this. We said to them, you know, people are not going to like these prices. People want you to lower how much you make from them. And I don't think they believed in that. I think, you know, the point of engaging with who we've engaged with on this process, I take your point about, you know, we've engaged with Ian and other staff at Chapel Street who won't name, probably because they certainly don't want this profile. is I think they understood it. They certainly got it. I've said this point previously. I think a lot of them got it. I think this whole process was scuppered by a revenue target of £39 million, which prevented a lot of good opportunity, which was the missed opportunity to talk about what you do. I'm not quite sure. I don't think the owners trust us. I don't think they do. I think they think there's some ulterior motive. What are we getting for it here? This is fan power. This is something else. This is they want to own the club and all that stuff. None of this is about that. I want to stop going into meetings with people from Liverpool Football Club and talk about them doing the things badly. I want to stop doing it.
They want to stop you going and
yeah, and they want to. Yeah, and I'm sure they want to stop. And I think that's where the trust thing comes in, because they think we can't give in to these people. We can't give them anything. We can't give over to them, and they wonder why we're doing it. And we genuinely, that point I made early doors, and my fear now where this process is at. I said in the first meeting to you there, if this doesn't get fixed, we all lose. Supporters get priced out. The support worsens at the ground, and the club loses its product. And my fear now in the position it's in, if they don't act, is Saturday demonstrated. Where will this go?
On this quick, just back to you, Jason. I know you were in the documents in the camera use documents going back years, but the point about this is, I was hoping, and when FSG came in, you hoped, and with good reason, you hoped that the view of people who run football towards football supporters had changed, run Liverpool towards football supporters had changed. But it's an industry-wide problem. I mean, you said before that the Premier League's a gentleman's club. There's an industry-wide problem, isn't there, that basically, and it seems that it leads, because it didn't seem the case with FSG at all. And if anything, almost a lot of this almost feels a low-like complacency, like, well, what are they going to do? 2 million more, what are they going to do? This is my major, it feels like that complacency is just sort of there, and it doesn't even seem necessarily nasty. It's just this sort of as I say, the tittle thing of, well, what are they? They're just a gang of socialists, or they're just a gang of this, or they're just a gang of that. A rabble, 200 divvies. Do you know what I mean? We've got these examples going back to 2007 of nonsensical things that have been said, and that's just about Liverpool. It's Premier League wide.
I've said this to the Premier League in a recent meeting with Richard Stewart, and I said it in a meeting with Liverpool Football Club, because I think their angle has been on this. Go on, we dare you. We dare you. We don't think you speak for as many people. We don't think you speak for everyone. I don't profess to speak for everyone, but I think I pretty much judge the temperature on issues like this really well, in my experience. And I think they thought almost, go on, I dare you. Let's see if you've got it. I don't reckon you've got it. And that's why they were willing to push this, because I think they thought, no way will there be acts. There'll be a bit of an anger. There'll be a bit of a boiling over of frustrations, but that'll be it.
And that's put us all in a really horrible position now, because the genie's out the bottle. 15,000 people walked out the ground because they tested the water. And we all want to put the genie back in the bottle and get something going forward as positive. But how do you do that?
Do you feel that way as well? You want to move forward?
I'm not being funny. I stood up on 77 minutes and I was absolutely choked. I'm not really much of an emotional person. And I wasn't choked about, wasn't this great, all Lincoln Arms were all going out. I was thinking, it's come to this. The amount, all these people walking out, it was sad. It's a sad thing that's happened. And it's happened because of this disconnect.
First thing I thought was, this reaction now is a positive reaction for us as what we've done. I thought, I don't want to have another 13 months in a room with them. I just want sorted and settled. And, that was their chance to do it. And the offer's still on the table. And I still think the trust issue could have been sorted if Boston would have met with us. Because they could have met us face to face, gauge what type of people we are, and thought, we're not just these people. Yeah, they trust us.
Or they could have delivered the message to say, lads, it's 39 million.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's 39, and you could have cut through it.
I think the key thing to say is that, especially for us from Spion Kop, is we just want to go the ground and support our team. The last thing I want to be doing is sitting in meetings twice a week with them and stuff like that. I want to
McKenna, aren't you?
I just want to go the game and support the team. And the club had the chance to, meet us, put some trust on us, and at least be honest with us. And I think that's where it's fell down, because I feel let down, disappointed, and I don't think they've been.
But the real worry where we are now is this genie's out the bottle. Is how do you square this circle?
On that, I have a question from AJK on Twitter. Can we ever trust FSG again, is what it says. And it's something that keeps coming through in little bits and pieces here and there. Based on the fact that they met with, there's been a meetings with the other three groups, and people have been ignored. I mean, this is where things can be ramped up a little bit and a bit quickly. I mean, what's the thought process on this?
On FSG?
Yeah, that one.
They're the decision makers in this. They're the decision makers. Owners can take ownership. Decision makers can make decisions. Liverpool Football Club's decision makers and owners at FSG. They decide these things. That's all.
So can you trust them?
If they come out and acknowledge what's happened, if they come out and acknowledge what's happened and start on a positive path to doing it, if the owners, clearly now started the transatlantic phone calls, come in and fudge this, imagine getting this wrong a second time. Imagine coming in and thinking we can just, we'll knock some of the £77 tickets off. Then I think people will be asking questions of trust and whether they understand. But this isn't, and this has come up, and I'll take this point now just because I know it's been asked by people because of, I think, a chant of literally probably about 100 people outside the ground were making. This isn't an anti-ownership thing. This isn't, FSG get out of our club territory. This is just that Fenway Sports Group made a decision on ticket pricing, and we're angry about the decision Fenway Sports Group have made on ticket prices. That's all we're angry about. And I think this, we talk about missed opportunities, it's a key word throughout this. FSG have an opportunity now to come out and say, you know what, we now understand better, you as supporters. We now understand why this is important and we made a mistake. Done it before, don't forget to come out and apologise about transfers. I can't be words out here. Come out and apologise about transfers. They come out and acknowledge they got it wrong and they'll learn from that mistake. Come out and do this. And I made this point in an interview today, and I said it on Twitter last night. The passion walking out to that ground on Saturday should send a very loud message to them that imagine if you do this right. Imagine if you give back to supporters, acknowledge you've made a mistake, lower the ticket prices. Imagine the passion walking into the ground in future matches.
I'd just like to back that up from a Spion Kop point of view to say this: we are not trying to front a FSG out campaign. We have not come out and said this is an FSG out thing. This is solely about ticket prices, and we're continuing to fight the ticket price cause. Get the FSG out thing. We're not associated with that at this present time.
They're not Hicks and Gillette.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the stuff that you've been getting lots of questions about before we did this quite quickly. Graham, why not boycott merchandise and food and drink?
It's about ticket prices. It's not about that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the ticket prices that we're looking at. We're not trying to destroy the revenue streams of our football club. We're trying to say there's a particular revenue stream that you need to do something about and adjust and make fairer. I mean, there's a good argument to say that the beer is too expensive and the pies are too expensive, which they clearly are. Never mind the quality of it, but that's just it's a sideshow. Yeah. This is about ticket prices.
Just on that point though as well, as I understand it, as we understand it, and a lot of that's outsourced. So Liverpool Football Club don't necessarily make profit from that anyway.
Okay. The low-level hospitality tickets, Jay. Yeah. How many of them are there?
There's 834 low-level hospitality tickets, which have been taken out of the jet. Well, Liverpool are saying are now going to be low-level hospitality. But
just to be clear on the process on this, were they in the process all the way through these tickets?
Yeah, I've got two spreadsheets here.
Tickets.
I've got two spreadsheets here, which we put on our site. On the first spreadsheet that Liverpool was showing us and going through on, there was low-level, there was tickets, Tier 1, general admission seats, match day, for £175 for Category A, £100 for Category B, and £85 for Category C. And there was also a season ticket price for £1,029 to show that Liverpool Football Club would correlating the two between these. On that same spreadsheet, again on our site, Liverpool have shown comparisons to how this is what the average match day price is. It says average match day prices for this seat for the coming season, but also how that compares to what the equivalent seat now is and what the difference is. We then, after the sharp intake of breath, and like, really? We said to Liverpool, well, that's a big disparity because the season ticket holders only paying on average of £54 with the £1,029 season ticket. Liverpool then, in all their future, there'd only one proposal after it, began to recall this low-level hospitality and said, well, it was always going to be hospitality, and that's not the case. It's been on all our conversations. What those seats are, just to quickly touch on this, Liverpool Football Club raise the idea of a tickets auction. They did plan to auction a top tier of match day tickets and see how much it could make. We urged them against that because of the reaction that would have and the problems that would cause for supporters, as well as it's the wrong approach to take. Liverpool are, we understand, going to trial that later in the year for some tickets, certainly not as many as they were looking to do so. So as far as we can understand that, may still be on the table for something for them to consider.
All right, next one that's on the list, as I say, of stuff that's coming before. Very quickly, Andy, I mean, they'll at least move somewhere on the bit more young people on the grounds. Where will they be?
From what I understood with the documents they gave us, they wanted to put them in the top of the main stand, which has come out today on the test link on the Liverpool ticketing pages that these use obstructive views.
These are the £9 ones.
Sorry, yeah. The way I understand that is that you're going to put kids up there, they want to watch the game, but obstructive views. So,
yeah, Liverpool have had the artist images of what the view look like from each seat, because obviously anyone who's going to get them up to your seat isn't going to get to go up there and say, let me just see what it looks like. So they've done artist views on the images from the club website, which has subsequently clearly been taken down. There are restricted views in there.
I think the broader answer is that they've talked about, which is a positive thing, is these 1,000 tickets for for local youth. Where they're going to be placed is still a work in progress. And to be fair, they said they were going to work with the supporters about where we best put them.
Well, one of the reasons when we first went into these meetings is we said we wanted to maybe try out a bully's pen or to see more kids come onto the Kop to help with the flags and stuff like that. And I think that was only brought up in the first 2 or 3 meetings and then it was forgotten about. And one of the reasons us as Spion Kop went into the meetings was to sort of protect the tradition of the Kop and the atmosphere and the flags and stuff like that. And we've sort of come back burner.
Yeah, but I think what happened, Andy, is when the supporters committee then had a meeting with the owners before the Southampton game. That was really, most of that meeting, it was about ticket prices we were trying to raise because they wouldn't need youth with the ticket working group. We also talked about the youth and a penny seemed to drop there then. It really did seem to drop and there was like a nod and said we've got to do something and that's when it sort of came back on the agenda.
Right, okay, because it was only last minute that they put
that's right,
tickets in, wasn't it? Which they didn't even...
No, that's right. That's my guess, anyway, I'm not saying that's what happened.
Graham, isn't this just stretch pricing? The top ones are subsidising the lower ones.
Well, it doesn't, is it? Because the supporters are paying £2 million more, so there's no subsidy going on.
Okay. Season ticket amnesty. Jay, rumours of a season ticket amnesty. Is that going to happen? Have they made that clear to you in any meetings? What conversations have gone on?
Liverpool, it was raised by the club about how they would look at doing this, and I think the idea was, we'll do this and then, we can never just keep people passing season tickets on. We said to Liverpool, if you're going to do these kind of things, it's got to be a whole, a full approach. If you're going to deal with touts and people passing tickets on and stuff like that, as Liverpool have talked about wanting to do, well, do it properly. Get people who go on these tickets regularly, get them back into, in their name. Get people, registered with the club properly. If they're going to share season tickets, maybe even allow that, but do it properly. Give people that, opportunity to do this, but do it alongside good prices. Liverpool, they've sort of given most of our conversations come up with about these prices. We've not heard any more. I do understand we do want to do it down the line, but it's got to be a full approach to touting and things like that.
They've actually got on record of the supporters committee meetings where they're saying we want to get the main stand done first, but this summer that's the time they're going to start looking at an amnesty. And again, they said they'd sit down with supporters and talk about how that would work, what wouldn't work, what would be fair, what would be unfair. But as Jay says, we keep saying it's got to be done as a totality. You've got to look at the touting, the accessibility. People who've had tickets, maybe not in their name for donkey's years, but the problem is they haven't got any records. It's not their fault, it's just the way it is. Their loyalty records only go back to about 95.
No, 2005.
2005.
Is there something else on this as well, Graham, where there's a lot of people who, again on this, the idea of the information coming out, sitting down with the supporters, there's a lot of people who are taking on to the cup schemes because they think that's going to help them qualify for the ticket to the final at some point, and they're prepared to go through that, and the way that's administered, I mean, it's another conversation for another day how that's administered. I'm not going to get into that now, but is there a situation where there's a lot of people who are taking off that basis, and the club aren't coming out and saying, you've got to struggle to get a ticket for the final, mate? I
think to be fair, that there is a process going on. There's a meeting tomorrow we're going to where the survey that we just went out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They're going to share the results of the survey with us and what came out, and they've done the focus groups as well. But that was around a membership, which obviously then feeds into tickets. And they're asking, what do people want membership for? 100,000 members. Are they all driven because they want to get tickets for Anfield? Probably not. But they are trying to look at it. I think everyone's suspicion and concern was, were they asking questions in such a way they got the answers they want to hear? So we'll see.
I think we've asked Liverpool to disclose how many tickets will be available for finals and how many people are likely to qualify, because due to the increased number of corporate tickets and hospitality tickets, there will naturally be a reduction of the numbers available for the final. We do understand that For example, if we reach the Europa League final in Bâle this year, it'll be particularly problematic for supporters to get a ticket given the low allocation and the club's method of distributing tickets. I think, certainly anyone who's took the Autumn Cup scheme and goes to matches at Anfield has got I think a 0 to 0.001% chance of getting a ticket for Bâle via any kind of ballot and stuff like that. And Liverpool, we've said to them they need to disclose how many of the final tickets for the FA Cup or League Cup would go to hospitality tickets, but I think it will reduce the numbers available.
There's no doubt about that.
Okay, Andy, on this, you mentioned before 92% in the Kop, season tickets, it's done, it's locked. There's this idea, isn't it, about, I've got it, if you're in the main, you can move, but will the club let you move seats? I can't move to the Kop, let's be honest about this, and I'm completely aware of that now. The movement of the seats thing, how possible do you think it is?
Well, he came out and said, didn't he, it's something you're going to look at after they'd announced the prices, but with the prices that they've set, I don't think anyone in the right mind would move from...
Let's go the other way.
Yeah, they want to move into the Kop, but of course,
Transfers.
there's 92% Kop seasonal, so there's nowhere else to move, so that's where it comes, you're putting person against person, which doesn't sit right with me.
Were you worried about that? Going to the whole thing, when the first time I saw it, I felt a bit like, and there's a little bit for young people, and there's a little bit on this thing for locals, and then there's a little bit here. And were you worried about it? And I don't think it's happened at all. And I think, again, going back to the ethos of we're all Reds here, I think the way the diaspora, Liverpool supporters on the whole reacted to it is we're all Reds here. Were you worried they were trying to pit people against each other a bit?
One of the first meetings where the proposal came out that they were going to have so many tiers, me and the other lad from Spion Kop meetings with us went home, and the first thing we both said to each other is that that's going to create a divide between our supporters, because you're effectively putting him in row 5 against him in row 10, or him in the Kop against him in the main stands, which it's not right. You can't do that. At the end of the day, we're all going to watch the same spectacle on the pitch.
For the same reason.
For the same reason, yeah. So it didn't. I understand the concept of why they want to put tiered prices in, but I think there's a way to do it. And I think the way they've done it on that process, what they've gone down, is wrong. And putting person against person, as they want to say customer against customer, it's not right, and it doesn't sit well with me.
Would you? On that you just said there, would you? Broadly speaking, can you see the value in tier pricing? Is it more just the way in which they're going about it?
It's a hard one to answer. Yeah, it's a hard one to answer. I think personally, if it was my way of doing it, everyone would pay the same price because you're watching the same thing. It's as simple as that.
There's also an elephant in the room here about them actually responding to the problem, because if they're looking at the ticket pricing again, everyone's thinking, they're having a look at this. So the prices that have been put out into the press and put out generally, are they going to be the prices? And the elephant in the room is this week we're supposed to start thinking about starting to publicise how they're going to move people from the main stand. Until you actually solidify the ticket prices and say, this is definitely what it's going to be for next season, you can't start the move. Because all the people in the main stand say, well, what are we going to do? And as Andy was talking about people trying to migrate into the Kop, to be fair to the club, they've got a real difficult problem with this main stand, because obviously you've got a lot of people in the existing main stand who've got to be accommodated. They were never going to get 100% of people giving them a round of applause and saying this is fine. Now, I think they're making a real good effort to try and achieve what they can. So anyone in the main stand is basically, I think, going to give an opportunity to be sort of where they want, if they'll pay the price. But now the price is back up in the air because they're thinking about it again. Secondly, if you don't want to go in sort of where you are, we'll offer you anywhere else you want in the main stand. And that's probably big enough that they'll be able to do that. But then they're saying, if you don't want to be in anywhere in the main stand, we'll try and put you in the Kop, the Centenary, the Alley Road, whatever. But of course, there's going to be limits, there's going to be pressure there. And of course, if those seats that they take in those stands are not currently season tickets, which why would they be? Because there aren't going to be any season tickets coming back in. They're probably going to be general admission, aren't they? Which means that puts further pressure on the general admission people. So less chance for those people to get tickets.
Or cheap tickets.
Or cheaper tickets, yeah. So what will happen is probably general admission people will end up probably paying a little bit more than they were this year.
Can I've got loads of questions here, but can I just with you on this one frame? I get the impression I sort of half know what the answer is. I mean, keeping acknowledging that this is difficult for Liverpool. It's really difficult for Liverpool. And I think, again, if you can meet with FSG and see them face to face, you'll be able to say, we don't think this is easy, lads. Would you like the opportunity to almost do that? Because you spent 13 months almost, well, not almost, actually working on this. So you can see how hard a square to circle this is. But even if you take the money out, in theory, you can see how hard it is, because there's lots and lots of people who want to watch Liverpool play football. The ground only holds so many. There's all these other pressures. It's rock hard, isn't it?
It is. But I think, to be fair, the logistical side of it, they've done their best with it. The people at Chapel Street have liaised with the supporters and had a chat about it and sort of explained how they're planning to do it. And we've sort of gone back and said, well, I don't think that's not going to work. And if you're going to do it in blocks, you've got to do the blocks in the right order, and you've got to do it in such a way. And what about people who aren't on the internet? Are you going to do it all electronically? You've got to look at the people. Say the main stand, as we know, with the greatest respect, is maybe of a more mature, creation.
My experience is, on the main stand, Jay, Dan Kennett asked, are there any genuine improvements to seats and facilities planned for the lower main to justify it being the most expensive stand?
Well, I just understand that they're going to be profile and seats. There'll be better facilities, I assume, because that basically everything that's in there at the minute.
The seats are boss. The seats are boss. Someone.
The seats. Yeah, so there's going to be improved facilities there. On the question of improved facilities, point I've raised with quite a few people is Liverpool have said, well, there's improved facilities. Ian said it in his short press conference at Melwood that there's going to be improved facilities in that stand, so they should cost more. But what about the seats that are going up in the Anfield Road and the Centenary stand? Because they haven't changed. No one's built a new toilet or anything like that.
Okay. Next one along on this is Ian said, be careful what you wish for. Graham, what does that mean?
I have no idea. Answers on a postcard. Do they still do postcards? Well,
tweet it, text it.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I
have no idea.
I don't know. I genuinely, it sounds like the weirdest threat about this. Be careful what you wish for.
Does it mean the owners will walk away because they don't want to stay with us?
Be careful what you wish for. You'll get £30 tickets. I don't know. It could be anything. We'll have to guess.
Yeah, generally don't know.
Okay. Keep it moving down. Ian also said, look at all the facts. Supporters see all the facts at this stage. I mean, it's
they've seen everything we've got.
Yeah.
We've seen everything we've got. We had not hard on this, and we were quite open to Liverpool that we were going to publish everything. I think on the other point about facts, what's now happened is based on all the information that's gone out. I know there's a fantastic post on Red and White Kop of a supporter who's pieced all different bits of information together, a poster called Harinda, who's pieced all different pieces of information together about things the club have said in the past, what they're saying now, and is beginning to just find a load of holes.
It's unraveling, isn't it?
Yeah, Dan Kennett, again, I know we tweeted some images yesterday showing about the ones that are going up, the ones that are going down. If Liverpool Football Club want to talk about facts, well, let's ask them to publish all of their numbers as well.
I suspect what he meant there when he said that was, look, we've listened to you about youth tickets, we've listened to you about accessibility. Some ticket prices are going down. I think that's as far as it goes, as far as the facts are concerned. No,
I genuinely think if he knows the facts though, because the meetings he attended, he
wasn't in the mall.
He wasn't in the mall, so I don't, unless he sat down and read all the documents we've sat, I don't know what facts he's alluding to. Because we've got all the facts there and we put them out straight away, and as always, we will be open and honest with our supporters.
Exactly.
Okay, Max HWS on Twitter, is it unrealistic to have a fan sponsor who subsidises tickets more affinity than a normal sponsor? Great.
Why? Are we like a charitable case now?
No, but on this, just on this.
No, you can talk to sponsors and say, part of your sponsorship.
No, but we did say this to Liverpool. We've early doors, we did say to Liverpool, let's have, if you want to make up this revenue elsewhere, maybe one of the ideas is you get a fan sponsor. Liverpool said they'd look at it. In the last meeting, they said that we asked them, was there any progress on sponsors on this? Liverpool told us that they've had no one take that up yet, but they've got a number of other considerations around, obviously, the impact that sponsor might have on what other sponsors get, like advertising space and stuff like that. But Liverpool haven't progressed that idea any further, despite us asking to be involved.
Okay, I've got one here where someone's saying about talking on the atmosphere question, and also on the getting tickets online, the process of getting the tickets, the cost being, the phrase he uses is astronomical. This is Dan Field sent. But he also mentions this idea of, there is this issue around, certainly for members, and getting tickets online it's more than enough work territory. And also you've got to be online savvy. He mentions his dad's here, his dad's not. He says, is there an argument to sort of, again, as part of the process of this, make $1,000 pay on the gate or general sale or something like that?
Yeah, I agree with that. We've got lads out of our group who go to the match and they go to window sales only, and you only have to look at the cup final, selling details which come out on Wednesday, and they're not doing window sales. And it's a hindrance to people,
So there's lots of lads who, like, for instance, and also some people aren't working in an office job at 9 o'clock,
exactly,
but they can pop down at 8 o'clock before they get in.
And that's where the club can, be better resourced and work with us and say, listen, we will have online window sales as well as online sales as well as phone sales. But the options are there to the club to improve that. And that's about, that's where their sort of communications and their customer relations could be a bit better than, just think about it. Think about the logistical sort of ways that you can improve on it.
Okay, we're going to do about 5 minutes more. Is safe standing an option? This is George on Twitter. Is safe standing an option, or is it the elephant in the room, Jack?
It's not one we've obviously brought up for very obvious reasons, mainly because I think for us, and we've had this conversation with some of the military groups on this, I think for us it's like let the inquest pass, let natural justice occur on that. But my fear on this from experience is football clubs would still just want to put more supporters in there through safe standing and still want to charge significant sums of money. The overall message on this, it comes on the safe standing point of view. We shouldn't have to find solutions like, how many more of us can get in and pay a bit less. Liverpool Football Club can just make a choice to make less from supporters. That's a choice they can make, regardless of whether we're standing or whether we're seated.
And also, this is a challenge here and now. Safe standing is a medium, long term.
Well, it's not allowed.
It's not allowed. It's a debate that's got to be had first if people want to have that
discussion.
It's not going to solve anything in the next 6 months
or 6 weeks.
As we said before, it's about taking places alone, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, I say coming towards the end of it. Something else that's been lashed out and discussed online a lot. You've got it down here as well. Is do you think leaving affected the results on Saturday, Andy?
I wasn't there, didn't see the post. So why did they?
We won 2-0.
Yeah, that's what I said as it came out. Yeah.
It's a hard one. I think whatever happens, and we can't change it. So it's pointless going on about it. One thing to say is, if that's the Liverpool you want to watch going forwards with them supporters in the grounds, and people out there like to stay or go or whatever. But I've watched the last 13 minutes back. It was dead. And if that's the Anfield that the owners want in the future, then that's what they're going to get, and maybe that's something people need to realise.
I'd like people to make their own mind up on this. Pep Linders, I think Linders, the coach, and Henderson both said that it didn't have an effect. So you can believe that if you want, and you can believe Liverpool officials saying that, or you can believe the idea that it didn't have an effect. And if you believe the idea that supporters leaving Anfield had an impact, you should be asking why you're happy to allow those people to be priced out next year.
Okay, getting towards the very, very end on this. I want to get a sense going forward in time frames really, because you mentioned before, Graham, this idea that we've got, that season tickets are going to get bought or sold. The club can't kick this down the road for 3 months and have a great big long think about this. Something's got to be out there. You think about it.
They've got to be paid by the end of May. That's what the deadline always is now, isn't it?
It's a horrible place for everybody to be now. Because I keep going back to saying there's this chasm. That anger and people getting up and walking out the ground on Saturday was unbelievable. And that anger is remaining, it's there, it's palpable. What they've got to try and do is got to do something about it. Or they might just say, do you know what, we'll front this up, because a lot of those 15,000 people are probably brittle about this. And they'll go away, or they'll just go, well, we tried, we walked out, and they've done us over, and at the end of the day, I'll be back there next season. But the ball is in their court.
Okay.
Just on that point, though, Neil, I think what we've also got to do is take into account whether they're going to genuinely reconsider this. If they're going to do this, do not fudge this. Do not come back and say, well, we'll just get rid of the £77, because the first thing your supporters are just going to think is, do you think we're stupid? What about the £75 one? If you're going to do this, to acknowledge if you're going to acknowledge you've made a mistake, right? Don't then think you can pull the wool over people's eyes. Do it properly. Acknowledge you've made a mistake and do something completely different.
Trying to fudge this by doing something like that is the worst possible thing we can do.
Well, it'll just, if that, me personally, I'd just be looking at it and saying, not even do you understand it or care. It'd just be like, you've got no respect for me.
Well, you don't understand it and you don't care.
You wouldn't have any respect for me if you'd done that.
All right then. Just to sort of draw it all in, I think we've covered a lot of the little bits and pieces here. And the one thing that I've seen a message there from someone who's tweeted in saying, the cost it takes if you've got a hotel, you've got airfare, travelling up, all this sort of stuff. I don't think any of you are sitting here and you don't want, I mentioned before about the idea that it might be the club might be trying to be divisive in some way. Everyone knows there are other attendant costs with Liverpool, and is that something else that you want to see addressed in this as well? The Thomas Cook aspect of this, the fact that it should be the football club should be able to look after these supporters without having to necessarily hand over to a third party guy, make their life, make it cheaper and more convenient for them.
We didn't get as far as that in the debate, did we? That was the problem. Is that we said we'd sit down with you, we'll work with you, and we can talk about that, and we can talk about whether some of the prices have got to take, about tourism and whatever. But we just didn't get involved with the debate that way, because at the end of the day, they didn't let us.
Is there something you want to address, Jay? I mean, doing what you've been doing for as long as you have.
I have lots of ideas on views on things like touting, and I think supporters do. We always get asked about it. We always get asked about how Liverpool sell tickets. When we started this conversation with them, Liverpool actually were probably quite keen to try and address some of them things first, and we were like, no, this is about price. Let's deal with that big issue right in the middle, and all those things around the periphery can be dealt with one at a time. We just didn't get past the first hurdle with them, and if Liverpool Football Club deal with the price, I think you can begin to deal with a lot of these problems. About how you sell tickets, you get the tickets, the way you deal with touts, how the club brings them back in, your Thomas Cups. This is the thing I think Liverpool have failed to understand, is that as well as the anger and frustration at the price, there's anger and frustration at the way they do things,
at the
processes that they have, and the schemes and initiatives that they have. And I don't think they realised the extent of that.
But the mass dissatisfaction around
satisfaction, dismay, anger, disgust, all of these things, and that's what manifested itself on Saturday.
But it's also the positive thing they're missing out of. There's so much experience amongst the supporter base about the ground, about what happens around Anfield. They just don't tap into it enough.
We're supporters. We know what supporters think. We can help you.
Solve most problems.
Okay. All right, we'll look for closing comments on this. If you've been watching this, you've got a question and we didn't get to it, you feel as though something's not been covered. Firstly, you've got all the channels through social media to get hold of each of these two gentlemen and to get hold of Spion Kop 1906.
I thought this was going to stop everyone asking me questions.
Don't ask Jay any more questions. He wants to break. Give him a day off, give him Tuesday off, he'll get back on his case Wednesday. But no, if there's anything that's not been covered, and there's only so much that you can get through. I've got another couple here. There's a lot of duplication, obviously, in the emails, the messages, the questions. Just very, very quickly, just sort of 30 seconds from each of you about, what you want to see happen next, and just a general sort of closing statement, Graham, first.
It's not about what's going to happen next. 3 words: I'm sad, powerful, and gutted.
Okay, Andy.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I've been disappointed with the outcome from the past 18 months after all the hard work we've put in. I'm new to all this. You can throw whatever numbers you want in front of me. At the end of the day, I'm going to go and support my team, and I just want fairness for myself and fairness for others. One thing I will say is thanks to everyone for the support, both at home and abroad, over the past week or so. I think one thing we've proved is that you can't neglect your most loyal supporters.
I've told everyone on the Anfield draft too many times how I felt, and I think a lot of people were genuinely concerned for my welfare. I thanked Samaritans on my behalf last week, so I won't go down that path. I think we've got a gap now to Man City at home, and the owners are talking about considering changing elements of this. I would urge them to make the right choice now, because they made a choice on what to do on ticket prices, and then supporters had to make that very, very difficult choice on Saturday, and they made it in the thousands. And I think Liverpool Football Club now have an opportunity, affords them a second chance, so to speak, to look at this and say, do we do this? If you're going to do it properly, and probably for the sake of the football club and the support, and keeping it united. The managers talked about it and stuff like that, to keep everyone together. And Liverpool Football Club exists to win trophies. Liverpool Football Club, everybody inside Liverpool Football Club should be pulling in the same direction to make that team on the pitch the best it possibly can be. You need the supporters on side to do that. You need the supporters in the ground to be able to do that. And Liverpool should remember that and take the next few days. Don't rush something. Take the next few days and genuinely consider the idea of doing the right thing.
Okay, thank you very much to Andy and Matt for sorting a lot of this out, and thank you for turning up tonight and doing this for you. Graham, thanks to Andy Hudson, Graham Smith, and James McKenna. I also want to do a thank you to everyone who's got emails, both SOS with ticket questions, on the Twitter as well. It's people getting involved in all this that matters, because we're all Reds here.